We should also talk about Keith Mitchell. This is a name that jumped off the page for me. I mean, this guy had done everything from world class back in the day to WCW and then Impact. He's going to be making the leap over as well. What was it like seeing your old pal Keith Mitchell?
It was wonderful. It's heartwarming. Keith's had some health problems here in the last several months, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I have great respect for Keith Mitchell. He got out when I think his health started failing him a little bit, which I can relate to. But I talked to him. I try to talk to Keith on the phone on a regular basis. When guys get sick, I can tell you this from experience. When you don't hear from anybody, you automatically think, well, they don't care about me. And I wanted to make sure that that's not the way Keith feels about my relationship. We had dozens of lunches in the food court there at the CNN Center, and of course Keith did the TVs, and it was in the truck, and just hell of a guy. I love Keith Mitchell with all my heart and soul, and want him to get healthy and happy and enjoy his retirement. He deserves it. He deserves it, Connie, and he was a great addition to the AEW team from day one. But at some point in time, when you've been in it for so long, you come across these intersections that you got to pass through, and I think he just felt like that he had done all he could do, and he had a successful run with every company that he was with. He did more with the less toys and assets than anybody I've ever worked with in television.
Well said. We think the world of Keith Mitchell in these parts. Why do you think Keith was so critical to this? I mean, I just want to put it into context. There's not a lot of guys who've sat in that seat. We know that Kevin Dunn in that era, boy, he would never leave WWE. So where else can you find someone with this sort of skill set? Keith was at the top of a very, very short list at that time, no?
Yeah, absolutely. We were lucky to have him because nothing could happen in the truck or at a live a live show that Keith Mitchell had not already experienced on multiple occasions. So our team at AEW was lucky to have Keith come on board. I just he was invaluable, and I just think he got burned out. I know his health was starting to bother him, as I mentioned. So that's a shitty part about getting old, Connie. It's hard. It's hard to overcome Mother Nature. She wins most. Mother Nature doesn't do any jobs.
Never has.
Ain't going to.
Meltzer wrote, as far as the announcing team goes, Ross will do the shows, and I'm not certain if he'll do the complete shows or just the major matches to get them over as special. Their play-by-play guys are Alex Marvez and Excalibur. I've known Marvez since he was 16, and he was involved with the Observer website before we joined with Brian Alvarez. He was one of the leading NFL reporters in the country, and as of late has had a pro football show on Sirius XM. He's the former president of the Pro Football Writers of America, and he, like the rest of the guys, knows the wrestling business and was actually really perceptive on it, even as a teenager. Did one of the best wrestling newsletters in the country when he was very young, and had done plenty of television and radio for football, but he's never done pro wrestling announcing. Another of Ross's roles will be to mentor both Marvez and Excalibur. And we know that trio didn't last for long, but as I understand it, you guys even actually worked together, perhaps in Atlanta at DDP's place, doing some trial runs on commentary with the three of you. Talk to me about that.
Well, we just didn't know what the formula is going to be, who was going to be sitting at the desk. Alex has a lot of skills, and he's a very smart guy. I enjoy working with him this very day. Alex is the guy that prepares all the announcer notes on win-loss records, recent histories, things of that nature. So Alex still provides a great resource for AEW, and I know he does interviews, and he's good at it. So I've always enjoyed working with Alex. And he's one of those guys that you don't think about all the time, but when you do stop and think about it, you realize just how valuable he is. And so I look for Alex to be a lifer. I look for Alex to be working with Tony and AEW TFN till further notice.
Let's talk about, the growing pains of a startup company. I mean, you're coming from a well-established 50-year business and you helped build a lot of the infrastructure there and rebuild it and rebuild it. And then you sort of got out of the race car for a bit, but it was a real 24/7 juggernaut with hundreds of office employees and offices all over the world. And now you're going to an absolute true bootstrapping startup.
Right.
Now, a well-funded startup, but still, we've got to build the infrastructure out. Was that fun for you or frustrating for you since you were coming from a place that already had all of that?
A little frustrating at times, but really not that much. I was allowed to do my own thing, basically. I didn't have somebody in my ear telling me what to say every few seconds. And as far as Alex is concerned, we realized Alex had great value, but it might not be sitting at the desk. And so that's what necessitated that change. Uh, so everybody likes to be on TV. So Alex still gets to be on television. He still does his, and he's very always well prepared. So I'm glad that he's still with us and doing what he does. He does provide a great service for AEW, and I hope he stays there as long as he possibly can because he's a player.
No doubt. Let's talk about your personal goals. Like, did you have any personal goals coming into AEW? Behind the scenes, on camera. Was this something where you're like, hey, I want this to be the final note of my career? Because you had been sort of out of the WWE spotlight since that WrestleMania match with the Undertaker, where you called it in the main event, and it felt like you were sort of on the shelf since. And we know you were really rip roaring ready to go. Did you just want to have a point to prove, or a chip on your shoulder, or just get us in your mind frame 5 years ago?
I just wanted to play. I didn't want to be the guy wearing the sun visor on the sideline, carrying around the clipboard. I wanted to play, and without tooting my own horn too loudly, toot toot, I felt like I could still get the job done. And luckily for me, Tony Khan felt the same way.